Welcome to my Sorare Journey, episode 110, where we have officially won on Sorare again. I should have done the Ange Postecoglou. I don't normally win at the start of the season. I always win at the start of the season. I cannot believe it. That is $940 I think I won because of my 5% booster rewards and hitting the hot streak. I'm still on holiday, but I had to record what has gone on because I feel like I've gone from hero to zero. I mean, it's a bit embarrassing, a bit of a mistake from me. I'll get into that shortly. I just want to touch on the fact that if I had played my second team in Division 1, unfortunately, this team got relegated, which is going to hurt me. 445 points won Division 1 and 463 points won Division 2. So, obviously, that's not ideal. You know, I've missed out on $4,000 or, you know, the difference of 3,200. My team probably should have got promoted last week. But, you know, Anthony Robinson was an unknown DNP or just a weird scenario where he's on the bench but never came on. He's not on the bench this week, I think, so clearly wasn't fit but wasn't mentioned. Let's just call it an unknown DNP. So because of that, I've lost £3,200, but I'm here to say that's not how you should look at Sorare. There's so many ifs, buts, and maybes. If I had, you know, swapped Salah and Van Dijk, which was which was the right decision in theory, right? Because Salah outscored Van Dijk, I wouldn't have got anywhere close to first. So, you know, all these little things can go against you. You've just got to celebrate your wins. So I've won here. I'm doing well. And before I touch on why I'm an absolute idiot, I think we should rip some essence. You know, we've got one, maybe two draws in limited where, you know, we can help boost the community team. If you comment down below or use the link in the description to donate to the channel, that means you'll be input into the community team draws where all of the money I win from my Premier League in-season team will be going to you guys at home that support the channel. So we'll just rip this one off the bat. I think first we should probably check. Yeah, so it's mainly all-star. I don't really know what I want here. I mean, a Premier League card would be good. Tier 2 guaranteed. 7 hasn't been good to us. 3 seems down the middle. See what we get here. Yeah, Zach can get in the bin. Immediately in the bin. Thankfully, 7 won his end for good. Mazrao. Top list were all quite solid. They would have helped. So, we've got Ndoye, Mazraoui, Diallo would have been fantastic. So, if we take a quick look at Zach, I'm hoping I can return him just so I can get another draw, but unfortunately he looks to be like, it says like he's tier 4 value. Yeah, £2. 40p. Hopefully we can return and get 100, and if we do that, then we're into a second essence draw, and then we can move on to our rare essence, and then let's draw again. Addicted. Standard draw, doesn't matter. Do we just... Yeah, that was where we would have wanted last time. Vane? Don't know where you're from. Milner, Mosquere. Okay, Jeremy Doku in 1. Okay, that would have been nice. That guy's going to be worth absolutely nothing. And he'd probably annoy me, so... Sorry if you guys would have wanted that, but I only have champion season cards. He's not from champ. It's going to be pointless. Obviously, the quality of this video might not be as good because it's in a hotel room, audio, all of that. I'm sorry for that, but right. This is the key. We need some strength for these upcoming weeks because the mistake I've made can be rectified with a good draw. Now, this is 67% Premier League, so I'm not going to use a clue on league. I'm going to just assume it's... going to assume it's Premier League, and potentially if it's tier 2 plus, I do nationality, which is my favourite. I need some rare luck, and yeah, rare essence, drawing luck, standard, bang. Right, so 5's been good. Let's not mess about. Let's get us a Prem card. Oh, Sam Byron. Oh, who's there? 7 Ryan Yates. No one. Yeah, that's my sort of... Is he Stein? Obviously not. That's how my sort of luck's been in rare. probably a little bit worse, to be honest. So he's auctioned for £4, selling for 2. I actually think I'd rather 100 Essence in this case. Yeah, I don't know what the value of Essence is, but I know I'm close to getting a second or a third draw here. So yeah, if this is bad, then I can get a... Now, the only problem is I can't get a clue, but there's no way for me to get Essence, and I need to draw them now so I can strengthen this week. I've got my hot streak to think about. We're not going to look, and we're hoping it's a special star. We've never seen one. Standard. Right. Just go 10. Leo Messi. Andy? Is he going to play? Okay. Well, that's the best draw we could have got there. Andy Robertson at minimum is going to strengthen our Liverpool collection. But yeah, he's obviously been rotating in and out. Kirkes hasn't had the best start. I'm proud of that. I didn't actually check. Okay, so my ending Premier League Essence is 90%. So if I could find a way to get 50, I could probably rip something. Let's check the price of Andy Robertson here before we move on. Because he creeped up in value. Yeah, £25. You know, obviously you'd hope for more. You see all the draws you get across Twitter and Discord and everyone else just ripping these absolute monster rips of Essence crafting, and I can't really get close to that. I'd be interested to see what sort of percentage likelihood the experts have him to play on Sorare Inside this week, because Robbo's been playing well, but it's Kirkes. But what this could allow me to do is buy Kirkes, and then I have the backup. So yeah, not a fantastic draw, but not the end of the world either. So we have strengthened off our win with a Mickey van der Ven. This is probably just the start of the strengthen. Obviously, we've got 2 hot streaks in a row now. Hitting 3, I think, gets us $400, and then we're moving on to some serious cash. So we really want to keep that up, especially with decent fixtures. I'll show you that in a second, and I'll show you like what I'm aiming to build. You can see a lot of outbids at the bottom. But let's talk about the stupidity of this guy on camera, because he explained in the last journey how the best thing to do is to vault your injured cards so that you're picking up 1%. So what I did is I vaulted Saka. I got an extra 1%, which for me was huge. You know, that is what I went 800. So yeah, a couple extra dollars there for a card I wasn't using. And the only thing you've got to be careful of is 2 of your cards, you know, 1 returning from injury at the same time as another player that you vaulted. But like I said, I only really had Saka that I cared about in there. But unfortunately, you also need to watch out for just being a moron, because Saka's still vaulted. And you might have seen that Saka returned to the pitch this week. He played 45 minutes against Man City. He's got upcoming Olympiacos and West Ham fixtures, which are very key. Now, if he plays or not this weekend, who knows? Noni Madueke's just got injured, so, you know, more likely to start, but obviously Arteta wouldn't want to rush him back. So everything's working wonders. So what I'll do is I'll just unvault Saka now. I don't lose anything. I've got... Right. I have an 11-day cooldown, which for yous that can't do the maths, misses the Olympiacos game, misses the West Ham game. So, what I did, sitting on the beach, enjoying my life, I was watching a bit of Sorare content, and someone showed me that Kivior had moved to Porto and was ripping some monster scores. You see, Kivior is no longer in my vault, because what I did is unvault him. I unvaulted him about 2 hours before the Arsenal game. The guy's worth in Classic maybe £20, so I thought, that's not big money. Thankfully, he's gone up a little bit. I probably should have sold him there. No, he's £22. These were the scores that we're looking at, you know. 68 international, but an 86 and an 82 with no decisive actions for Porto. I'm like, right, this guy can do damage. I don't play Challenger. I've already got Kieran Tierney for a Challenger defender. But I can't even sell him. Because if I go to my collections and I go to my rare collections, I've sold all the Arsenal players I can. So I've unvaulted someone for £20, which I can't make liquid because I can't sell him. I don't play Challenger, so he's very rarely going to get a run out. And if I did, I could just play my Tierney, which was already unvaulted. So that's bad enough. But when you flick forward into the future weeks, this team is absolutely crying out for a forward Saka card. I obviously have the midfielder card, but if I could play Saka in the forward position, I could bring in Romero, Van Dijk, Salah, Xavi, so many strong options. But I can't. I have to play Wirtz away to Chelsea, obviously a difficult fixture. So I'm forcing in Wirtz over, I'd probably have a Saka and a Romero or a Xavi Simons. This could be my 4th hot streak in a row, and I'm without probably the star of the week. You know, Saka would be right up there with the top scorers that week. Maybe it's Bruno, maybe like Haaland as well. Man City got a decent fixture. So now I'm like, I sort of need to fix my errors. You know, I should have never unvaulted Kivior, but it's done. There's no way that I'm aware of that I can get Saka back early. But what I could do, maybe I just go and buy Saka. And just, you know, I'm going to lose 5%. So classic season Saka is selling for about £92. So if you look at £92 and you take off 5%, let's say he stays steady, or let's say he moves down to £80, I'm losing, maybe call it £10, £15 overall. I get to use him, I'm not going to have the same XP, but it sort of makes it slightly better. That's option 1. Option 2 is maybe a bit more out there. Just pick up Saka new season and sell, you know, my current season 4%. It doesn't really make sense depending on if I hit my hot streak. If I hit my hot streak, it makes complete sense, you know, rolling money in to sort of increase your chances of that next hot streak makes sense. But it's a lot of money. Now, relatively, it's not. If you're looking at Saka for, believe it or not, I was actually second top bidder on his in-season card yesterday by about £3. But if you're looking at him for £315 and you're looking at Cole Palmer, who's recently just got probably injured again, for £558, or you're like, okay, what about a fully fit Mo Salah? £445. What about Haaland? You know, the top cars on the game comparing here, £638. He's actually decent value because he's been injured. People weren't looking at him, and then it sort of slowly, you know, creeps up as he gets better scores, starts again, gets minutes. But again, it comes back to why I didn't buy him at the start of the season. I do think he's going to be a very strong player, but I'm worried about that recurring hamstring injury. He's had surgery on it. It's re-injured. He could turn into a Reece James. You know, brilliant on his day, but never there on his day because he's always injured. But alternatively, that's sort of priced in. You know, that's why he's half the price. So does that mean he's good value or does that mean he's fair value? And alternatively, you know, I don't want to spend all my money on forwards. You know, if we look here, you know, the net spend at the minute is about 3.2. If we say Palmer's out, I've still got Wirtz. Iwobi was, you know, incredible for me last week, won me the division. Is Saka over the top compared to, you know, I could afford a Van Dijk, but I don't want to get a Van Dijk. Maybe a Romero, or who I really want is Pedro Porro. You know, am I making a small mistake am I making a mountain out of a molehill? Is this a molehill moment where I'm going to miss Saka for one game week, I've still got 4% on him, just suck it up and hope he doesn't rip against West Ham? Or yeah. Am I then saying, oh, well, now I'll get Saka, and then I'll be, once Palmer's back, which shouldn't be too long of an injury, I've got Saka, Verts, Palmer, Iwobi, just far much more depth than I have in any other position, because for that £300, you get a Vicario, you might be able to squeeze a Donnarumma in. So I'd like you to know what you think I should do. In terms of my lineups for this week, obviously they're far from finalised, it's 2 days to go. We'll start with a community team because, like I said, we'll be strengthening this. When I'm winning, I hope you guys are winning. We already have the draw done for this week. I might do the draw for next week. So, obviously, Hudson-Odoi is about 60%. Gibbs White should play depending on Europa League. But we could just go out and strengthen. We definitely need to strengthen a forward position. I don't know if I want Haaland. He just seems so overpriced to me. Someone like Mbeumo would be good. But we need to match up so Man City and this team have good fixtures at the same time, because City have just had the tough run of fixtures. Their next games are very, high scoreable. I'm sure there's a better term for that. But Burnley, Monaco, Brentford, could easily rip against all of those. So comment down below who you think would be a good forward option. Any potential winnings from this week go to Adam Golden. He was drawn in my Sorare Journey episode 108. He commented on the video, so anyone that comments on this video has a chance of winning. Alternatively, if you donate and support my Ko-Fi, we're 56% of the way to our first goal. You only need to donate £1 minimum. It really doesn't matter. And at the minute, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names that are in contention. So of those 5 names, every week until they expire, they're going to have a chance to win this. I almost feel that mathematically, it's probably better to donate £1 at the minute because your expected value will be higher. It all depends on what I win. But I've got some absolutely incredible teams. I've got my hot streaks to hit. But it's completely up to you. Let's draw the winner for next week now. And let's see. So for this week, we've got the 5 donations. And one of my favourite comments of the week is going to be added. It's favourite, it's all random this how I pick these, but this one just made me laugh because it's like, unfortunate, but you do have the best content on here, mate. And it's like, unfortunately you do. It's like, maybe it's just worded weirdly, but for me it just made me laugh. Your structured storytelling spiced up with a legitimate story, back to drawing board, and thank you for all the help. Hoping to buy a few beers for you in the future. I would love that, preferably at Anfield. So Odorim, I've probably butchered your name, that's sort of how I do it. Odorim is going to be added to the draw. So I think how I'll do this is I'll add 1 comment every week, maybe 2 if I'm feeling lucky. And then I'd say the last 10 donations I'll keep in because I don't think there'll be a huge, churn of donations. And if you did get knocked out, you could always just add an extra £1 and sort of put you back in. Now, obviously that excludes how much you donate, so that's where it's still sort of like a tipping service, like if you enjoyed it, you can do more. If you're literally just here for the draw, just enter £1, it doesn't really bother me. It's all just anything is nice to have with these things. So we'll draw the first. This is for the next game week, obviously, because I'll still be away. And it's another commenter. Odorim literally just added, and he's gonna hate how it does that. But yeah, he's going to be winning the next game week's teams, which look very strong from what I remember. In terms of going back to back, now we got demoted in one team, promoted in the other, so we do run the risk of, having our best score in the wrong division again. But I tell you what, didn't feel bad. It felt pretty good. So, I'm looking at a strong Spurs defence. I'm thinking Romero, always ripping AA. Partnering with Van der Ven would be great. Passing points, all of that. High line probably against Wolves. Hopefully don't concede. Alternatively, I really think Pedro Porro is doing fantastic. When you look at his scores, he's got potential decisive actions, and how his scores so far have been without decisive actions. But, from watching him so much last season, he's always whipping balls in. He sometimes takes corners or free kicks. Great. Bruno against anyone. Brentford is, up there against anyone. I'd want them as sort of one of my options. Wolves obviously struggling. Brentford obviously struggling. West Ham, weird. Like on their day, they can be really good. Other days they can't. And then you got Wirtz, who hopefully was just rested for 1 week. You know, they'd be wanting to get his confidence up. He's been playing, you know, semi-decent as well. So, yeah, that's a decent fixture. If anything, you'd want like a new striker. So I did bid on Embuemo, for example, but I don't want to get carried away with 1 week. My current options would, you know, I'd be looking at maybe Embuemo and Porro to strengthen. But then you've got to see how that affects your future teams, because I really want to put out a third team, but I don't have a midfielder. So, you know, maybe if I drop in a player here, I can drop Garner out. But he's been averaging so high since I picked him up. Look at this guy. 67 against Liverpool, no decisive actions. 79 Villa, no decisive actions. 60, none. And he picked up a goal. So, you know, this guy picked up for like 36 quid. He's auctioned at 81 now. Huge potential there. Don't want to get carried away with him, but they're currently how the teams will look. They're going to change much more. Don't forget, this is one thing I haven't mentioned. 6% boost is what I had last week, because that was one of the reasons I took Van Dijk out of my main team. It's because his average was so high and Salah's was low. Don't know if you can see it here, but this whole score was times 6%. So 6% of 463 is 27 points, I think I got. Well, it would actually be slightly less, because I think it's on the base score, not everything. But if you imagine I got an extra 15 points, that earned me like $900 or $800, probably $700 if I should take them away. It's incredible that something I thought would have no impact, that 260 cap, because I'm picking players that are good value and haven't, you know, been scoring incredibly. Paulinho, obviously last season wasn't doing great. I actually managed to get 6%. Keep that in mind of my, you know, 2% of that is the fact I'm purposely only picking up 2 players from each club to sort of beat stacks and get that 2% bonus. So, you know, it might be slept on, these little percentages, and people don't think they matter. Just look at my journey. I can tell you they absolutely do matter. You can get 2% for doing nothing except for just not stacking. And at the same time, you can stack those teams, get those collection bonuses, and just split them up. That's what I've been doing. That's why, you know, my Everton players get split up. That's why if I get Porro, I won't be playing them as like a free, even though obviously you can't. That's one example why Paulinho would never come into this team, because I'd lose 2%. And Fernandes probably a better scorer. There might be a time and a place for it, but that's my Sorare journey. Thank you so much for watching. Like, hype, comment, all of that. But besides that, all the best to you. Cheers.